So I don't see, oh, Ed Hedges is waiting in the lobby. So let Ed in. Good morning, Ed. We just started the meeting. You're muted.
Yeah. Just gonna listen in.
Okay, so we just introduced the members of the Safety and Security Subcommittee, the members in the audience, public members, and we just did the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry that I neglected to turn the microphone on, so you didn't hear that, but welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
Are you a resident of Pelican Preserve?
Yes, I am.
Good, okay. Thank you. We're what neighborhood?
Azura.
Missouri. Okay, thank you, Ed. Okay, so back to the agenda. So actually, I think the first thing would be approval of minutes from the October 11th meeting was the last official meeting that we had. The minutes were attached to the agenda packet, and I don't know if there were any comments that people might have. Hearing none, could we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
In a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. We don't have a financial report. In fact, I would like to get some information about what our financial situation is, budget, but we don't have that available at this moment. Is that something, Randy, that we would be able to get from, do you think we could get that from Georgia or from Laura?
Well, I can check. I'm not sure. Alan?
Laura. No, it's Alan. Laura. It should be Laura.
Okay. Alan may have it.
But Laura's the gatekeeper.
Okay. I will put that on my list.
Thank you.
Now, that's gonna be OEM?
Everything.
Okay.
So
Has
whatever-
the
whatever-
budget changed from OEM to,
We're in transition
okay,
and it'll be a little challenging.
It'll be line
through the
item.
Transition period, because there'll be individual line items
okay,
and who is authorized to spend them is the only real change. There's some that is currently still authorized under the OEM. But as you guys get up to speed, it should go all directly to the district in a similar manner.
all right. So Dean, what that means is when in the past we had the OEM agreement, which meant that you went to Castle, or we went to Castle for money for safety and security, with the exception of the one big contract for the Wiser security. But other ancillary items, repairs in streets and things of that nature, for O&M. So the idea is to put more of a line item budget so that safety and security has different spots to get approval for monies.
And authorized spending, you have a budget.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so we will get that. You'll follow up with Georgia for us?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Appreciate it. Okay,
Excuse me, Dean, did you ask for public comment?
I did not.
Okay, any,
Is there any public comments on any of the actions to date? Any concerns that we should be aware of? Ed, you're on the remote on the phone. I don't know whether you can hear. I hope you can.
I can hear real well, but no comments.
No comment. Thank you. And anyone in the audience? No, thank you. Okay. Okay, so when we get into the actual items for discussion, the first one was related to e-bikes. This kind of came to us from one of the residents in the community about this new technology and motorized bicycles. and thought that we ought to have some discussion at the safety and security subcommittee level, perhaps an education process to the community about these e-bikes and what they mean and some controls on them, and maybe even a discussion about a requirement for insurance on the class 3, which is the higher speed vehicles, bicycles. Ted, you actually wrote up something that got distributed yesterday, which is part of a communication, I think, which was helpful.
I just jumped the gun and figured that might be part of the process.
Sure.
And basically used the information that the gentleman provided in the email. That was the basis for most of it. Because I figured one of the ways we'd educate was with those email shots we used to put out every month. So.
There hasn't been any education, to my knowledge, campaign like what we've done in the past recently. Is that
With e-bikes, you mean?
not about e-bikes in particular, but in general?
No, in general, it kind of, I'm not quite sure what happened, but it kind of faded away from summer into fall, and then with the transition, I mean, I still have oodles of stuff to send out at any time we want. If we want to reestablish it, I can, you can hash over things 10 times and people will still do them wrong the 11th time.
Yeah.
So at any time you want that to happen, I just have to figure out who I hook up with. I used to deal with Chris. I don't know who I deal with the new management company that distributes their weekly newsletters.
He's the communications person.
Okay, thank you.
You know, this new e-bike is actually not new. It goes back to the 60s under pedicycles, which is the old fashioned mopeds where you could pedal and you could have a gas motor kick in occasionally to support the pedaling. So basically it's the same thing. There have been statutes in all states concerning pedicycles, and now there's new terminology, e-bikes. And basically an e-bike is a bicycle unless it can exceed, I think it's 28 miles an hour. I believe that's the statute, 28 miles an hour. Then it actually becomes a motorcycle when you're at that point in time. When you become a motorcycle, you fall under all the same statutes as a vehicle does. And e-bikes have to follow, if they're not used and go over the 28 mile an hour thing, then they're basically no different than a bicycle. And they fall under the statutes of bicycles, which has to obey all the same traffic laws as cars.
Mhm.
It's a pretty simple thing. It wouldn't hurt to put it out in a newsletter, because a lot of people are from new e-bikes means something new to people, which it actually isn't. But it's good to put something out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that what you drafted was really, really helpful. I think that we ought to be going beyond and reminding people whether they're bicycles. I know you mentioned in there, they follow the rules of the road.
Mhm.
So that brings up to me, bicycles need to stop at stop signs.
Mhm.
And, that's pretty rare, right? So, but I think it's a reminder that needs to be,
Oh, yeah.
needs to be.
Trust me, I could have made this 5 pages.
Sure.
No, I mean, the whole idea is, I know how people are. You got to give them short bursts, otherwise they just tune out when they lie. And maybe some of the important stuff they never read. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, it's just frustrating, but you just, despite our pleas, you just will not get people to stop at stop signs on bikes. They don't want to lose the momentum. They think they're safe. If we won't get them to wear helmets, but I'm all for. I'll keep trying. So I could do. I mean, what the heck? We have the ability to send this stuff out. I could do this and wait a couple of weeks and do one on general, all sorts of cycle safety, and just use a lot of the old stuff I sent out before and just forget. Because the thing is, a lot of that stuff I wrote is years ago, and we have a lot of new people who never saw it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I'd be happy with.
You know, we've been using, you've been putting it out on a email type thing.
Mhm.
You know, more people, I think, read the town center monthly. I think that'd be a good area to add that, because the email, I think a lot of people, it goes to the junk, and they don't read it, and, you know, it's just very few people actually know
Yeah.
that. So
That's a great
more
idea.
people get the town center,
That's a great
Paper.
point.
and it
Yeah,
might
it
be
really is.
nice to have a little
It's the
article
same
in
person
that
that
about
thinks
e-bikes and rules of the road, reminder.
Well, do you think maybe it'd be better than if I try to get this in the monthly newsletter, and because you're right, it'll probably be read by more people in the newsletter than just
Why
discarded.
not both?
Well, yeah,
I like.
Well,
the newsletter and everything.
I mean, I now that I have the contact with KW, I could just talk to her about, you know, have that if we do both and see how they do it.
I think one thing that would be important is if in fact there is a electric bike that falls into the motorcycle type category because of its capabilities, things should be noted what the law reads about that.
Mhm.
We gotta be careful about other stuff, because like a helmet is a personal choice. It's not a law for an adult. So, you know, no matter how you feel about it, that's a
No, no,
personal choice
no.
type thing. But if it's the law, it's the law.
Yeah.
So I think a distinction should be drawn between that and let it be known. I have an elderly friend who had to give up driving, and he's got a tricycle, but it'll go 17 miles an hour.
Is that the guy I see all the time?
You know,
Yeah.
The
not
important,
quite the same, but
the
Well-
important things is, as you mentioned, they have to follow the rules of the road, but also when is a license required? And what is the age requirement to differentiate between just a basic petacycle and one that's over 28 miles an hour? There you need a license versus.
Right.
not.
Well, you did
Well,
address that to a certain extent.
Yeah, all that's in here. I mean,
Yeah, and that should be in a newsletter. I think those are issues.
Well, I
that-
would just put it, I mean,
yeah,
it,
yeah. And
yeah.
should they be registered like golf carts are?
Well,
The
you
ones
know,
below
you're
20
talking
miles an
bicycle.
hour, or the ones above?
Yeah,
above,
maybe.
the ones
yeah.
above, if they're,
Because they're registered with
Above.
the government then.
They're
I
motor
mean,
vehicles
Yeah,
and, you know, they fall
Right, the
under
high
the statutes.
capability ones.
Yeah, they fall under all the,
right.
Yeah, they have
Laws
to
of
be, they have
the-
to
So
be
you have to have-
licensed,
Right.
they have to be
Have to have
registered and
insurance.
insured.
Mm-hmm.
but as someone who may not realize that, first of all, I don't have one, but if I had a class 3 e-bike, because I thought it was a cool thing to have, and I didn't know that it qualified as a class 3 vehicle that needed to have a you know, registration, needed to have insurance. So I'm ignorant of that. Should I be advised? Would something in this newsletter advise me that, oh, I got to do this?
Yeah, I think it's great.
I think it's important to
Yeah.
tell people.
Well, I mean, I show the three different classes, and the class 3 is the one like Don said we're talking about. I mean, we're saying what's required, or they would have to say, oh, that's me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can put that in there and say, if you own a class 3 e-bike, you must.
Yeah.
If you want me to say it that way.
I
Ted,
think
do you have any idea if the retailers who sell these bikes are advising people about that?
I have no knowledge of e-bikes. I wouldn't even know where to go to buy one.
they're supposed to, but you know, it just, I want to sell this bike, I'm gonna sell this bike, you know. They're interested in the sale, but it's like the old fashioned mopeds. You know, they were supposed to be told that, and the dealers are supposed to hand out information concerning that, but I don't know if they do that anymore.
Oh, they might hand it out because they're required to, but if they don't say anything, then the
Yeah.
person might not read it.
Right.
I also kind of wonder how many, well, first of all, how many e-bikes total there are in the community, and how many of them would really fall into
Yeah.
that class 3.
I see more and more of them all the time. I
Yeah,
don't know what
I
class
do,
they're
yeah,
in, but-
yeah. And I don't know, I'd have to look up pictures. I don't know if a class 3 is bigger because of the power required, or
Yeah, I don't
They all
know.
look the same.
they all do.
I have two e-bikes. And it's a class 2 and goes 27 miles an hour. So there's a real fine line there between the class 2 and class 3. It's kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous in a way, but yeah, they all look the same.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that solves that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but again, I think it'd be good if we could get something in the monthly newsletter.
Yeah,
And if we also parallel to that, if we could have a periodic e-blast, maybe somebody will read it.
Hmm.
You know?
No, it's a great idea to put it in a newsletter. I think that
mhm.
people do. They love that, and that'll help. So we can do both. I'll talk to Angelina and well, first of all, I'll revise this and add some of the stuff that's been mentioned here.
That's great.
Then I'll send it out to all of you, but in the meantime, I can talk to her about the distribution.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, projects with potential funding.
Okay, well, I sent this out a while ago, but I don't think we talked about it in our last meeting per se. I didn't know if anybody had any changes or updates to this in terms of the list itself.
Well, we had gone through this and
Yes.
made some comments, and I think you incorporated
Yes.
those.
Mhm.
Okay,
Uh,
that's what we did at the last meeting, right?
Yes,
well, 2
Yeah.
meetings
yeah, so
ago,
this is
anyway.
just
Yeah.
these
Oh,
are the updates.
Okay, yeah.
But, sometimes if you look at it afterwards, you might get
Yeah.
an inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, how do we proceed with something like this? In terms of getting approval, I know we have to submit them because it's a recommendation now.
It would be a recommendation, and my understanding is that if there's something that we agree to do, that we recommend, and it's within budget,
Mhm.
and we control our budget, then we can make that recommendation to P-PAC, and I believe that would transfer to the district for implementation,
Correct.
right?
Okay, so the first step really is to understand the budget so that we understand how we want to prioritize
Right.
this because they're not all going to make the budget.
Right,
Okay,
that's what I believe.
okay, thank you.
If it's under $30,000, it may not necessarily go to the supervisors.
Okay,
It's not always that simple, but
well, what is the budget? Do we know what the budget is for this year for safety and security sub-team? Okay, so that's part of what we're going to find out. Okay,
That's part of the problem with castle involvement.
Yeah.
okay,
It'll be a
That's
lot
fine.
clearer 3 months.
okay. All right,
But
Well-
the first one that's on the list is something that we're dealing with right now.
yes,
So I can tell you what, the last year, I think the Pfizer, the Wiser contract and prior to that, Securitas contract was around 200,000.
More than that. Maybe 260, 280.
Okay,
okay,
and that was separated. So
okay.
that was the
makes sense.
big chunk of safety and
Sure.
security. The O and M agreement was for about $75,000.
Okay,
And for the most part, that just kind of got put into police, and some other things until,
Yeah, I
Until we
don't
push.
have the numbers.
yeah,
There were things like gatehouse supplies, gatehouse electric.
Yeah.
The rover feed for the vehicle. There's a lot of components there.
okay.
It's a significant amount of money when it's all
Right.
totaled up.
And how
But
much
if we take out,
your recollection was, how much was it roughly?
and there's $75,000 for the O and M agreement, which we pushed to get a backup generator.
Yeah.
For the gatehouse.
Yeah.
Which was not done before, and it was kind of that makes sense to be in safety and security, because
Mhm.
it's infrastructure. And then a new light for the intersection of Pelican Preserve and Center. Once again, infrastructure,
Mhm.
gateway, makes sense that it would come forward from safety and
Sure.
security.
Okay, so I guess we also need to look at that because a lot of those things, they're sort of fixed costs. and we're gonna have them anyway, so
Right.
it's not something that we really can spend against.
Exactly, just
So
like
we
Bob
don't
was
have to-
talking, maintenance related.
Okay.
Yeah, the some things that you wanted for the roads,
Mhm.
there's funds available to you tap into to get those done.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I would say one of the new initiatives that we put together from P-PAC, got approved by P-PAC. And now it's kind of an ongoing in terms of gaining more information is improvements and enhancements to the safety of the roundabout.
yeah,
And Dean can talk to that more, but it needs to be put in a format that could be put out for bids and then
okay.
awarded.
I'm just thinking if it's really 3 months, and I don't know if you were joking or whether that's an
No, no.
estimate or what,
The problem, Jennifer, is that the O and M,
yeah,
our piece of it is small for safety and security, but the larger piece of splitting up O and M is much greater,
mhm,
and it involves the attorneys,
okay,
because we have, for instance, sections of landscaping that we, the district, are maintaining,
mhm,
but we don't own that property and we don't have an easement for it.
right.
So fundamentally, that is illegal under Florida law.
Huh,
So we're
okay.
trying to sort through those legalities first. And the attorney's been working on this for about 90 days or 120 days. And he tells us we'll have it in January. Well, once that's done, and the district understands what they own and what they can maintain legitimately,
Mhm,
then you get into, if we don't have easements, we gotta get the easements. All of that has to be settled
okay,
before we
Okay.
adjust the O and M with, the community association.
I was just asking because I wanted to understand timeframes in terms of what can we do between now and then to try to move this forward? I wouldn't want to wait 3
We
months.
shouldn't have to wait. The money is there. It's just
Okay.
which pocket we take it out of.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that helps.
But to establish your own individual budget, that'll be post O and M agreement.
Okay, that's fine. I
And then
just,
you'll know the fixed dollar amount.
all right,
And, but you have monies. Money was put in there by PPAC for
okay,
whatever you
that's
guys
great.
deem appropriate to study or buy
Mhm.
or whatever.
okay, that's great because I was a little worried there that we'd have to wait 3 months
No,
and
no,
then
no.
it would be the end of the year before we could do anything.
No,
All right.
absolutely not.
Excellent, excellent. So I guess what we really also need to do is if we like these priorities, we can resort the list and starting at the top, figure out how much it's really gonna cost. And what do we need to do to feel comfortable about recommending it? Because some of this stuff I think we know, and I think some of it is, we may have to do a little more work to really get to a solid recommendation.
Right.
Okay,
Okay, so here you have high, medium and low priorities. Is there another page to this or is this it?
I thought it was 2 pages,
Okay.
maybe not. I don't.
I'm asking you, but I'm supposed to be driving, aren't I?
Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. It turns out there's no Wi-Fi, so I can't pull up the
Yeah.
attachments
Yeah.
to the file, so I don't know.
I'm in the file that was put out and there's only one page.
There's only one page, okay.
Okay.
She must have condensed it a bit, which is great, because it's always easier this way. Okay, so easy resort, because there isn't that much to resort. Okay. What I'm happy to do is take a shot at for each of these, starting at the top. To say, okay, here's what I think we need to do in order to be comfortable with the recommendation. And then again, to try to keep moving on this stuff. I know we have to go through, we can't just distribute, I can't just distribute it, but what I can do is take however long, a week, say, or something. Put all that together and then ask Georgia to send it out to the team
Mhm.
so that everyone can start providing some feedback. Is it good? Is it bad? And then figure out who's gonna take the lead on each of them.
Yeah.
Would that be okay, everyone? Okay,
That sounds good. As I said,
okay,
we do have some, we are moving on some of them already. The first one, we have, Keith and I are meeting with the, consultant Thursday morning, I think, Keith, right, for kickoff on that study. That kind of an independent third-party review of what can be done beyond what we've already come up with. Come up with something that is permittable by the city, feasible and prudent, and hopefully, acceptable to the community.
Got
Okay.
a question. I thought one thing we had on there also were the lighting for the guard shack. Where do we stand on that? I mean, that's been ongoing. Gatehouse, when you come in, it's very dark.
Yeah,
Really, our community is not being very represented with the lighting up there. And then, number two, the security aspect of that. That was, I thought, that was one of the topic items, and I can go over the item on item two, I can go over that with you and pretty well tell you where it stands.
okay, terrific. I don't see it on the list.
I know we've spoken of it several times.
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, it
It
really was on the list.
Okay,
Yeah, you
Well,
spoke of it
It's
last
a
meeting.
simple,
Yeah,
fix.
and I agree with that.
okay, well, I
Right.
don't have it on the notes from the last
Hmm.
time, so I'll add it to it, not a problem.
I mean, so it's
Hey,
the,
who would be, could a lighting studio give design recommendation? I mean, I don't think, we're not gonna be putting any more streetlights at that area, right?
no.
But lights on the building,
yeah,
lights on the ground that show up.
It could be
on
up
the-
light.
And also maybe on the sidewalk areas, there's probably electricity run there presently, sidewalks, because people walk in at night, and you
Yeah.
can't see them and walk out, and that's a security issue.
Sure,
And that would light up the whole thing, and also, I mean, they wouldn't be streetlights necessarily, but they'd
right,
be
right.
aesthetically
Just the
pleasing
same kind
type
of
of
things
lights.
you use around the home potentially.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So who do we go to for recommendations about that?
How about electrical company?
Well, West Coast Lighting would be an option, but I don't know if.
Maybe you have better luck than me, but
Well, we could take that up with them,
I can certainly give you a couple names that,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bentley
There's at
Electric,
least one person in purchasing, I think, or something that,
Bentley
or
Electric is
project
our
manager,
primary electrician in the rest of the property, Bentley. Option.
okay. There's somebody in their office too that was kind of, I saw a copy about parts waiting for those, that
Yeah.
street light. So what,
Keith,
so
you
who in
have-
the group
you have
wants
a
to
name
talk to?
That you can kind of generally ask them to give us an opinion?
Yeah,
Let Keith do it through his office.
I'll give you the contact information and you guys can reach out.
yeah, that'd be great if you could share that, Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I think that it sounds like something that would be fairly reasonable to do and wouldn't take very long to get finished.
Can't cost that.
If we buy readily commercially available
Sure,
lighting that's attractive and efficient.
Yeah, there's a number of fixtures that are ground mounted that are out there that are just stuck. They're not operating. I don't know if the wiring is gone. I don't know if the unit is gone, whatever. But there used to be something better than there is today that was operating in the
And
front.
some of them there's some solar powered ones too, isn't there? Capture the power during the day and then they're illuminated at
Could
night.
be.
Yeah, but they may disappear, so. Somebody freeze they grab and take.
Oh,
Yeah, they're not permanent.
No.
Yeah, they
They-
need to be
they walk
permanently
away.
mounted.
Yeah.
And, I think if you have a schematic on the electrical up there, any electric company could say, yeah, we can provide, here's some samples, this is what we can do. It's not gonna cost you money for a study. I mean, it's
Right.
simple.
so maybe that individual who's most often in Pelican Preserve would be a good contact to start.
I'll give you a few. Bright Lights is a new vendor that I'm using to get the materials for the hurricane damaged streetlights. So he's not an installer, but he works with a lot of installers. And
Okay,
he's a lighting guy, so he can come out and give you the recommendations on what type, and then he could maybe give you even a name of the contractor doing
That's
work.
great.
that
And
might-
you need to find out where the electricity is run,
Yeah,
so they can
Yeah.
do it the cheapest way.
yeah, exactly. Okay,
and it might be advisable to use a different vendor also. West Coast got a lot of stuff on their plate right now.
yes.
And on item 2, Fort Myers Law Enforcement, I had a conversation again with Fort Myers PD, and they haven't been here since September, latter part of September, as far as any enforcement goes, or presence, I should say, and indicate to me that they don't know when they're gonna come, because they don't seem to have anybody who wants to volunteer or make overtime. Now, this is not an on-duty project. They're getting paid off duty. So this is side job type enforcement. So I would think that you'd have officers who want to make some part-time money to do this, and I'm not understanding why that department is so, what's the word to use, but it's really not proactive in that area.
They're just not in, apparently.
Yeah.
How much would they make per hour to?
$58 an hour, and that reimburses the city for the car usage and the gasoline, and any FICA or anything that they have. So $58. I imagine an officer's making probably about upper 30s an hour, maybe 40 an hour to come in here, do nothing.
Sounds like it'd be pretty good.
Well, that's
And
honest.
if they
At the
were to,
last-
excuse me, if they were to issue citations, does the officer then have to go to court?
Correct.
On their own?
Normally, unless the person pleads guilty, or pays us the fine.
Yeah.
Automatically, then yeah, the officer goes to court. And that's one of the issues that they have with law enforcement across the nation. A lot of them, particularly Fort Myers, I don't think that they're very proactive on things, let's put it that way. And I think a lot of times they're short on staff,
Yeah.
which is legitimate for Fort Myers. It's growing so fast.
Yeah.
And they really haven't increased their staffing enough for road patrol. Officers are burnt out, so they don't want to do any more. I think that the supervisors probably would encourage the officers to be available rather than be in court and taking time up. So that, I know that generally speaking, a lot of agencies have that outlook. I'd rather have supervisors say, I don't want you in court. I want you out in the street taking runs. So don't write tickets, because then you'll end up in court, that kind of a thing. And agencies that are not proactive in the traffic enforcement area, that's different with the Florida Highway Patrol. They're active in that, but a lot of the agencies, local and sheriffs, are not in Florida.
But so on that subject, if the officer wrote a citation and it goes to court and the officer needs to go, is that officer in this instance, because they wrote the ticket in the, in their off time, in their, in their free time, if you will, not non-working time?
It's overtime though.
It's overtime. The department pays them, so the officer, there's liability
Okay,
issues there. So
okay.
the officer would be paid by the department.
Okay, that's what
For
I
the court
wanted.
time.
Yeah.
If it's an overtime issue, or if they come in, normally court's scheduled when you're working.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes the officer
Takes
off
the
the street.
officer off
going
the
to
desk.
court.
Okay, I got it.
That kind
Thank
of
you.
thing.
Thanks.
So at the last president's council, I was asked, is it possible? Because everybody, there's a lot of people who just don't think that
Correct.
we're getting much for what we
Correct.
spent. And so the question came to me that I couldn't answer was, would the sheriff's department
No,
be an option?
no. I've contacted the sheriff's department. I've talked to Sanibel Police. I've talked to all the law enforcement agencies, including the Highway Patrol. And there's a cooperative agreement that's signed within Lee County particularly, that agencies will not go on another agency's turf to work overtime, because they want to preserve that for their agents. Fort Myers just wants their officers to make the overtime. They don't want the sheriff to come in to make the money, vice versa. They don't want the Fort Myers PD to work out in the county to make overtime. They want to keep them within their jurisdictional areas. And the sheriff will not come in. I even tried saying, well, the back part of Prado area back there is actually in the county. It's not in the city. So I said, can you justify coming in and doing that, since part of Pelican is within the county's jurisdiction? And they said, they talked about it and came back to me and said, no.
So that
Because
brings up,
when we get some of these alerts from the devices from the sheriff's department, and one of them is out in front of our gatehouse.
Mhm.
And then it was like, if there's one of these alerts, the blue alert or something like that, you know, the kidnapping or some kind of, you know, like when that robbery at Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
There was some emergency alert came out, that the sheriff's department would respond in Pelican Preserve and not the police department.
No. They could respond. Legally, they have authority. The sheriff has authority in here, and actually Fort Myers has authority within Lee County. But they do not cross those border lines for enforcement type activities like ours.
Okay.
But they could theoretically, yes, they can come in here. I mean, if they,
But the camera monitors, that I think you're referring to,
Yeah.
that was a Lee County
Yes, sure.
program.
Yeah.
They put them in Gateway, and when we
Right.
heard this, I was on the board, I said, well, let's put it in Pelican too. But that's more of a reactive thing. If they're looking for somebody, they have the data.
right,
But the one thing I found interesting on this whole concept is that we can't get volunteers from the city,
Mhm.
but there's no problem in Gateway getting sheriff's people. I mean, we spend, Keith would have, I think it's $120,000 a year. We got, it's a big chunk of money in Gateway, and we can't even spend 10,000 a year. That doesn't reconcile with me. Something wrong with something.
that's the agency.
Yeah, absolutely. So we ought to be able to,
Exactly the problem.
somehow challenge that.
Management within the agencies.
yeah, we ought to be able to challenge that. I don't know how to do it, but. But
But
anyway,
there
like
is
I
not-
said, we can't get people that's.
And therein lies our issue with a lot of complaints, running stoplights, speeding, things of
Absolutely.
that nature that
Absolutely.
everybody, that we can't resolve. That we can't get the enforcement.
Well, you know, there are things that can be done. I mean, it could be the council, talking about the city council can discuss with the mayor and with the sheriff and make an agreement that, yes, we
Well,
can.
that's what you ought to pursue. I would
And,
think.
and agencies that I've had under me in the past, that's what we did. We had a cooperative agreement. You could come into our, you can work overtime, we'll work overtime here, we'll all get along. And it worked that way. And I had a city of over 1 million people. And there, the divisions are so tight right now.
So
but-
maybe it might be a political decision.
It would help. That would,
We could go before the city council.
it,
This group.
and I think that the city council would have to talk to have the sheriff there.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be an agreement between the mayor and the sheriff and the council to make that happen.
there was also an agreement, a legal agreement, a document between the Fort Myers Police and I thought the district, that delineated jurisdiction where the Fort Myers Police could enforce. And it was on Pelican Preserve Boulevard all the way to the end, and it was on Cypress Grove Drive halfway, because I don't know if that beyond halfway got into the county, or if the street only went that far at the time that the agreement was made. But there was some sort of an
Well, they're
agreement.
dedicated streets. In other words, they're public public roadways.
But all of these streets are public, with the exception of Venego from Vicenza into the town center, and I don't know,
Golf.
Aviano
Yeah,
is,
the condo
Condo.
complex.
Yeah,
parking lot,
Amiada.
Yeah.
yeah,
But theoretically, they can enforce on those too, depending on what the citation would be.
yeah, yeah. But basically, I'm saying, all of these streets are public for the most part.
Correct.
Right, so if they are public, but we have this agreement, or had an agreement that limits where the Fort Myers Police Department would have jurisdiction. I think that's a disconnect.
Some of that was the miles per hour, if you're looking at the speeding, and some of that was
It
the
might have
miles
been.
per hour they could not enforce. But then again, that could be changed by city ordinance also.
Yeah, but that's true, Don, that could very well be, but the fact is, Cypress Grove Drive is 30 miles an hour,
Correct.
the full length, right?
And
Prado is, what, 25, 30?
Back in Prado, yes.
Yeah.
If I can offer a suggestion, because we can't resolve it.
Yeah.
Let's get the district, Keith, that the district can make the contacts with either the city, Lee County, and this group to have a meeting to discuss how we can get resolved.
Yeah.
Because the district already has a relationship with Lee County. Clearly, it's somewhat political. If we need this group to get involved, we can get all of our into it. But how do we move it forward? And Don, you'd be a perfect point of that. If you've been able to see how different areas can cooperate. So what do we need to do to change the language to get more cooperation? If it does nothing more than encourage the city of Fort Myers to give us volunteers, it's a win. If they truly don't want to do it, that's fine. No harm, no foul. But we got plenty of people in Lee County, plenty of us. Let's just figure out a path to get forward. Forward. I'll throw that out as an offer.
Yeah, because I think the residents just snub their noses at stop signs, at speed limit signs, at people crossing and crosswalks, whatever they don't want to follow, whatever rules they don't want to follow, they don't, because there's no one enforcing anything.
You're not gonna change the behavior until you make it pay.
It's right. That's right.
And that's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's a political thing to get the parties together and then we could jump in at that point in time at the second level of discussion.
absolutely.
Who is your point of contact in the city of Fort Myers?
Steve Gruber.
You always coordinate directly with them only?
Yeah, well, I have spoken to their captain that was in charge of operations division. But Steve Gruber is an officer and he's in charge of all overtime enforcement for Fort Myers PD. Everything goes through him as far as overtime enforcement.
Keith and Bob get their heads together and come back with. We set up meetings.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So I can give you, this is the schedule I talked to Steve on the other day, and I sent him a new schedule for the upcoming months. That's what I sent out.
Okay.
And it talks about, besides enforcement, it talks about safety. Things that are happening that I know of in the community, what I would like to see law enforcement be aware of so they can tackle those issues.
Mind writing this one number down?
Yeah, your gatehouse lighting is on item number 10. Project number 10.
Yeah, we'll get some priority to that.
Oh, yeah, we did have it up with that.
Ah. I didn't recognize it from the name.
Okay, any further discussion on this one?
I'll get the updates out to you guys for input.
Great,
Great.
thank you. Let's see. Fort Myers Police Department on site. Oh, I'm sorry, we got the traffic study status.
Okay, if you'll recall, the last time we got together, we thought there was a lot of data missing from the studies that we had conducted, and it was based on the schedule that we had put together, and we were under the impression that the studies had actually been run. When Chris and I dug into it a little bit, a couple things came out. First of all, some of the signs were put in incorrect places. So when we expected the data to come out on site number 17, whatever that might be, it was really in there at site 10 because it got put in the wrong spot. In a couple of cases, the study had not even been run because they got pushed back from either the residents and or the HOA of that community. So the net out of all that is none of the data was actually missing from the database. We also got Traffic Cloud involved with that. So anyway, all of that, there were problems, but no problems with the software and the data like what we thought. So we have a list of what still needs to be done. Right before Ian, they took the signs down because they didn't want them up and operational during the hurricane, and nothing's been done since then. A lot of it is because of all the damage that was done, and they were going to utilize some of the posts that no longer probably should have been utilized, either because they thought they had some live wire on it or whatever. So what we need to do actually is to put together a new schedule or proposed schedule, and then just start making it happen. But we have, I think it's a little bit later on this list, the recommendation to renew the traffic cloud software package.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we're okay with that funding. And if we are okay with that funding, what I'd like to do is take the type of information that we got from our last discussion, where we're no longer going to go forward with, let's figure out a consistent speed limit throughout the community. Let's really just look at the troubled areas, go back and study where we need to study, and study areas that we might be looking at in the future. And then I talked to Adam Radler a little while ago, and he gave me the name of somebody to work with, who would be the Chris Santos. Remember, Chris was the one who worked with Wiser to take the schedule, get it implemented, get Wiser to put out all the signs, etc. So this person is actually working right now on all the new renters that are coming in, etc. So I said I'd give her a few days. I'd send her an email, let her get through that rush of traffic, as it were, and then get with her to try to make sure she knows what we're doing, etc., so that we can get this thing back up and running.
That's great.
So that's where we stand.
The question about the software itself, there's a renewal
Yes.
that is necessary if you want to continue. And I think the existing agreement ends sometime later in January.
I think
this
it's the
year.
end of the month, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
24th maybe,
Yeah.
something like that. So, and your question about we need to make sure the funding's available. Well, for
Kind
Bob,
of
we
address
have
that.
funding.
Yes.
It's just a matter of what line item or what pocket it's coming out of. But rather than let that lapse, I would say that we should move forward with that.
Oh, I agree.
Is that something that in the past Castle would have done?
Yeah, in the
Right.
past, we would have just made the decision and then Castle would have taken care of getting that paid.
Yeah.
And they're already set up in all, well, I think they're still using the same systems, aren't they? For that kind of thing here? Yeah, that's what I understood too. So they should still be in the vendor system, so it should just be a matter of saying, go ahead and pay it. But
No, actually, you guys can communicate directly with KW.
okay, and I know
We
who,
want KW out of this. That's the whole purpose of changing the O and M. Should be done at the district, yeah. We don't need KW to do that.
That's not my understanding. The O and M is still in place.
It is, but we're transitioning. This should be an item that Laura will want to take. I think
I'll check with Laura. I'll check.
yeah, I think Laura's online.
Laura is online.
Okay, so I would not
She
deal
on?
with the KW person that I
I,
just got,
Uh,
okay, and I would talk. All
I
right,
don't believe so, but maybe.
all right, well,
Laura.
once it's resolved, I'll know who to work with. Okay,
Would it make sense to have somebody from KW come into safety security meetings, not, for knowledge of what's going on? And we can find out from them what's going on in the community on the security aspect of things, particularly.
absolutely, and here's the only comment that I will make. Is we, Pelican Reserve, are paying KW $47,000 a year to do the few things that they do for us. That's the whole emphasis behind the creation of this group and transitioning to the district. We don't want to pay them that $47,000. We'd rather have that as a budget for you guys to spend. Laura can write a check as easily as anybody. So, and to keep, my point with Keith is, yes, we still operate under the O and M, but we're trying to go forward. So this should be the kind of an item that moves forward, since it's a year over year, and all you gotta do is say, yeah, we're gonna continue. We don't need to pay somebody 47 grand to write a check. We can do it internally.
And I agree with you, but is it possible just to have them come in here for a knowledge?
Like I said, they should be a part of it, absolutely,
Yeah.
to be aware,
okay,
Right.
to be aware. Yeah,
Jennifer's trying to get something done. They have no idea.
absolutely, they should be aware of all of these. That's why we're holding it, Pelican.
Can we,
To get more
have they been invited? And can we invite them?
Absolutely. yeah.
We haven't invited them today.
yeah, because we didn't have a contact because it's transition. And now I have a contact,
So we can
And I
get them
will
in
advise
next
In the
time.
future, yep.
yeah,
Great.
when I talk to her, I will absolutely invite her.
Because their involvement in things such as things that we want will get better buy-in if they're involved in it
Absolutely.
rather than just saying, oh, this is what we want, you know?
And they'll hear things we may miss.
Correct,
Mhm.
correct.
So we want all to be working together. There's only one goal, to make Pelican better.
Right, okay.
Laura, you're on
Her
mute,
name
but
is Jennifer Lewis.
have you been able to follow this conversation?
Partially, I'm multitasking, sorry. I have another meeting at 11 I gotta drop off for anyway. We are meeting with, we're trying to set up a meeting with Wiser. To meet with them, to just get to know them. I think the lady's name is Jen.
A lot of fun.
Is this?
With Wiser, you'll be meeting?
Wiser.
Yeah, Chelsea and I.
Okay. But as far as the, as renewing the software that we're speaking of, this traffic cloud software, is that something that you can process payment of?
I guess my question is, why are we paying for it?
Who would pay for it?
Who paid for it in the past? And I guess that was, I needed time to dig into that because I was off. I mean, yesterday was my first day back in the office. I've been off since before Christmas. I guess this came up while I was gone, and I don't know if this was something that was processed previously by Castle.
Yeah.
And just like paid through the pass-through account. I need to dig into that.
It was.
Yeah, Chris Sanchez.
Okay.
Therapist.
And what is that for? I mean, because I don't really know what it is.
Oh, okay. You know, the signs that people put up and it'll tell you how fast you're going.
Yeah.
Okay, all of that data is captured and put into a system, and then we're able to run reports off that system with lots of different statistics in terms of speed and volume and by time of day, etc. A couple meetings ago, I provided some output of that, and I can send that back to you if you don't have that.
I know you've seen though. I remember seeing it at one of your
Okay.
meetings. Yeah. I'm just going through your chart of accounts.
System that collects all of that data and allows us to process it and run reports.
Okay.
And the cost of the software is, if I
I don't remember.
recall, it's $2,000.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I don't remember what it is.
But we've got the renewal information from Chris before he had left
Yeah,
the property.
and it's good software. We thought there was a problem, as I mentioned earlier. It wasn't a problem with the software. It was all operational, human operational issues. The support has really been really marvelous from them. Whenever we have a problem, we get somebody calling us back and helping us walk through whatever the issue might be.
Okay,
So-
my question would be, if you want to pursue that, it would need to get approved by PPAC. It would have to get presented, and because there's no line item in your budget for that, and I would need to know where you want it charged.
Okay,
All right,
and
we'll figure that out, but we need to get it issued before it expires, which is the end of the 24th of January. So we'll get back to you on that, Laura.
Okay, well, the Pelican meets next week, so next Thursday.
that's PPAC. When she says something, that's PPAC.
Yeah, PPAC meets on the 12th.
Trouble hearing that.
PPAC.
Okay, PPAC.
Pelican.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was translating that in my head right.
I think one
So
comment,
Dean, if you can send me the request for purchase order with the quote and where you want it charged, I can take that to PPAC. I'll get it on their agenda for discussion.
Thank you.
And do you need any background information on that?
No,
That-
I mean, it'll be up to you guys. It's a request coming from the safety and security work group, so it's not coming from me. I'll just make sure it gets on the agenda.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, okay.
Okay, I'll send that information to you, Laura.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay,
if I can make one comment, kind of for the benefit of some of our new people with PPAC. This traffic study gave us a lot of different information, but one of the items was the time of day of traffic going through, okay? So when we making the determination, we got a $60,000 quote for lighting at Pelican Preserve and Cypress. But we found out that 15% of the traffic was at dark,
Evening.
yeah, in the evening and at night. In some cases, just a few cars. But so that we were able to use that to make a value judgment. And we think, okay, we come up with one double light at that intersection. for $26,000, which is still a significant amount of money, but it's, almost a third of what it would. So the information provided by that traffic study allowed us to make that value judgment. And there's always a potential to put another stoplight across the street if we find out that it's insignificant or it's under that. So $2,000 sounds like a lot of money, but anyway, so
And
that's
it's
one
really-
of the,
It's
one
really
of the-
marvelous data that we get. I mean, I can show you this, but just the summary that we put together just for this team, and then we can dig into it in any which way you want, really. Such
Yeah.
as time of day. We get, how many cars have gone through, how many, are going via certain, limits, for instance. They are compliant, which means they're under the speed limit plus 5, speed limit plus 10, and you can adjust that interval to anything you want. You get the average speed, you get the 85th percentile to tell you a little bit more about what the traffic would, flow could look like, minimum speed, maximum speed. We even capture pictures of cars. You can't really see much from the pictures, but we capture them. So it's really a wealth of data there.
Does this traffic cloud company provide the radar display units too?
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Okay,
So yeah, it's all very well integrated.
yeah, it's really helpful.
and all those pieces of information, once again, be looked through the lens of safety.
Yeah.
Why don't we keep moving?
Yeah.
We've got about a half an hour to go and still a few items on the agenda. So the speed monitoring recommendations,
Yeah.
we're gonna put that on hold until we get back to it. Item F, Benito Vicenza Drive study by Florida Transportation Engineering. I'll just update you all that we have a purchase order issued from the district to Florida Transportation Engineering for this independent study that I spoke of earlier. It's a $4,000 fee, and Pete and I will be meeting with representatives from FTE Thursday to kind of kick this off. It's got a short fuse. I think the purchase order has a date sometime in the end of January for completion, but we can change that.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. Okay. So the idea is to get this independent study, recommendation as to what can be done regarding the existing conditions there, the rumble strips as they've been effective, somewhat effective for a while. A lot of people, we're still seeing golf carts kind of avoid them by driving around them across the double yellow line. And what we're looking for is some recommendations as to how we can address the situation. Maybe it's with other traffic calming, but it needs to be feasible too. We don't have an open checkbook, so we need to make sure that whatever they come up with is something that is feasible, it's permittable by the city, and it's got enough support. We need to have eventually need to have 2/3 vote of support from the Vicenza neighborhood in support of whatever needs to be done. And that would also be needed if the recommendation was to remove the rumble strips and do nothing else. So we need 2/3 vote to take it out, as well as do anything else out there. Randy?
Dean, I wonder if it'd be possible to invite someone from the Master Association to join you. Because they, the one rumble strip is on community association property. They could probably do whatever they want to with that. I'm not sure, but.
I think you're right. That's a driveway. At that point,
Yeah,
it's a driveway.
Because the Vicenza and northeast, heading toward the club,
Oh, that's west.
in that direction, that's our property, but it's southbound or whatever direction down toward town center.
Yeah.
Community association ownership, and therein lies one of the issues that we have with PPAC. We can't spend money on property that, things that are not owned by the district.
You're absolutely right, it's gonna be collaborative.
Yeah, so it's gotta be collaborative, and without them involved, I think we're kind of.
Get it in while we're making the cake, not after it's baked.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you know, and the other thing, maybe Tom Worley should be invited. Because once
Yeah.
again, they've got,
He's gonna be the sales.
yeah, so ladies, this is a situation where the rumble strips and Benita have been an ongoing controversy. But that neighborhood, 30 homes, has got to give us, at least 20 of them have to get a written approval for any change to those before we can get a permit from the city. So it's kind of like the tail wagging the dog. if you
But
will.
all the constituents should be part of whatever Florida Transportation comes up with. They came up with a great idea for our other problems. Maybe they've got a magic rabbit in the hat.
so I can, I'll
Because
reach
that
out.
would be, if we can get early buy-in from all parties, all these stakeholders that are involved,
Absolutely.
then we can probably more readily justify it, because there's, I think, a big feeling out there that from the rest of the community that they're all being inconvenienced for one small neighborhood.
I can reach out to, both the PPCA and to Tom Morley and try to get some representative.
At least invite them.
them,
Yeah.
yeah. We're doing this by, Zoom or
I
something,
think
right?
it was a Teams meeting.
Teams
yeah.
or something, right? So you okay with that?
Yeah.
Me reaching out? Don't know that anyone will
Great idea.
will be able to join, but we'll try. Good idea, okay? Thank you. Okay, Randy, can you update us briefly? I think you've already touched on it regarding the generator and the street light, just the
Well,
status, I mean,
I got more of my update at this point, right?
yeah, maybe Keith has more,
okay,
Yeah, so the generator's installed and we're still waiting on Tico to hook up the gas line, which they haven't started yet. I met them out there before the holidays and I just emailed them again on the 27th for an update. I do need to meet with their hot water heater contractor. That's part of the deal. They install a hot water heater and we get a discount. So I'm waiting to hear back from them. So many people were off during the holidays, so I'm gonna start bugging her again this week. The
You-
street light,
before you go, and maybe it's related to the street light too, do you know how they do, how they will do that? Will that be a directional drill?
they're gonna bore underneath,
They're gonna bore underneath?
from it'd be the north side of the road underneath to the median where the generator is by the guardhouse.
Is that the Sienna side or the golf course side?
This would be the Sienna side.
The other side.
Yeah,
and I was there when two of the guys were completing the installation, and they also did the electrical grounding at that time. So they can't do any testing of the system until they have gas available. Okay,
All right, thanks. Street light, Keith?
okay, so the street light, I was telling Randy before the meeting a little bit about this. This was contracted with West Coast Electric as before I took it over when it was a Castle project. I met West Coast Electric out there in, I guess it would have been October, November, I believe it was. And Jennifer's her name. She assured me that the work would be done by the end of the year. Now nothing has happened and they're not responding to my emails or phone calls. Per the O&M agreement, this really should go back to KW as one of their projects. I am not gonna just drop off face the earth with it. I'm gonna stay on top of it, but I am gonna give it to KW to take and assist them with it. Because KW may have another contractor they may have to work with if they don't get a response from West Coast Electric with it. But the thing with West Coast Electric, from what they told me, is they had already ordered the materials and that was the delay, but they did say it was gonna be by the end of the year.
Was that was November, so that was after the hurricane. You hadn't met yet. I was speaking with a fellow this morning, setting this up, who that is waiting for some direction from KW. He works for KW, but waiting for direction from powers that be as to what is it he's supposed to be doing as far as maintenance, streetlights.
Is that John?
Yeah, so he's kind of in a holding pattern also.
I'm trying not to overwhelm them too much because I know they're still trying to get acclimated and figure out who all the players are and everything, as I still am too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So one note on these items that were approved, as we discussed them and we got the information, they were approved by PPAC probably back in June. And so shortly after that, things were initiated, purchase orders, and these were both on the O&M agreement. Purchase orders were initiated, and in some cases, deposits were put down to kind of get it into this year's budget. Now, we still have the money for it, but when it doesn't get spent, it kind of rolls over, and my concern was that it could get allocated somewhere else.
If it's, the money's in our budget.
The money's in the budget, but some has already been
due
spent.
in the next year.
Right.
No one else can spend. And no one can spend the money but you guys.
Yeah, difference, yes, but difference being that that was an O&M agreement. So we could put down deposits ahead of time. Gateway can't do that. They can't put any deposits down. It's paid when work is completed. But that was a deliberate action on our part.
Right. Okay, item H. This is from regarding Passarella and Associates Geographical Information System Service Proposal. The suggestion had been made that we engage with Passarella and Associates, who is doing work for the Ponds Committee regarding GIS services. So as is an existing agreement underway, the thought was we could utilize them. There seems to be a need to establish a database for the regulatory signs and the information signs, warning signs that are out on the roadway systems within the right-of-way for maintenance purposes. So I spoke with a representative from Passarella a couple of months ago now. They gave us a proposal. We haven't gotten together to talk about it. They keep asking, what's the status? I know that the district has Passarella doing separate work for GIS also. So I'm not sure whether we should just allow them, Passarella and CDD, to do the database, the GIS work, or should we consider spending about $15,000 out of our budget to develop this database? We, members of the committee, would be asked to volunteer their time to go around and update the location of signs and the legend on the signs. Stop, keep right, no passing, all of those kinds of things. And then Passarella would take that data and input it into the GIS system. And it would develop a map, overall map depicting the sign locations, the information of what the sign says, whether it's one sign, two signs, et cetera.
If I can, there is the map. I hope most of you have seen it for ponds. Okay, and the idea behind this iteration is ponds has ponds. There'll be one for safety and security, which would also, everything that Dean said, plus then we identify every streetlight by number in the community. So if the pole's out, you won't have to guess which pole it is. You go to the GIS and look at it, there it is. Landscaping is also going to have it because there's zones of landscaping in the community. So if you can just picture the GIS as a information tool for the community, and then subset down and say, here's the ponds portion, here's the safety and security portion, and here's the landscaping portion. And GIS will take direction from you guys for whatever you want on that. If you have a layer for stop signs or a layer for street signs or a layer for the street light, whatever you want to have, it's pretty easily done, and then it's available to anybody. And we're very close to launching this through the communications committee with the community association, with Donna Sponto. But we've been trying to sort through ways of making it more user friendly. All the data is there, but I gotta tell you, I'm somewhat familiar with it, and I struggle sometimes because there's so much data, it can be overwhelming. So we're trying to make it simpler. So this just would authorize no more than 15,000, and I doubt if we can spend that for safety and security.
And if I may add, Ed is knowledgeable in GIS.
Get used, yeah.
Ed, on the call? Oh, good, very good. Ed, you kept that a secret, thank you. Secret's out.
So is Peggy.
Thank you. So that's a proposal that we have in front of us. I don't know whether you had read it, wondered what it was about, if you have any thoughts. If it's something we want to recommend to PPAC, we would need to do so. Gentlemen, lady?
I like the idea. I like the overlay idea that was brought up, you know, that you could break out things and then it'd be very helpful.
I agree.
The update, sign and lighting.
Mhm.
Well, that's the key. You have to get all the data in and then you have to have a process to keep it all updated.
Correct.
I don't know
And we have
how often it
complaints and
changes.
stuff like that, or storms, it'd be easier to determine exactly.
Mhm.
I know when I went around the lights, some of the poles had numbers on them, some of them didn't, you know, so.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
You know, we had the light number, but who owns it?
Yeah.
No.
Is it West Coast Lighting or is it
Yeah.
Community Association or whatever?
And Keith, the district though is doing work with Passerelle also. And
Correct.
is Pelican Preserve ahead of the district? If you were to kind of put them on an equal level?
If you were to do this, you'd get ahead of us, yes.
Okay. And it would save the district from doing it in the future.
Correct. Right. Right now, we have all of our utilities, of course, and lighting, storm sewer, all of our storm infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure. That's about the main gist of it. Yeah.
Okay.
This would also
Well,
include then, I assume you'd have overlays for electrical, where the electrical is run and gas lines are run, is that?
We don't have that detail.
No.
No.
That's a different
It
utility.
could be in there, but that's a limited access information. In other words, you don't want to tell the general public where the gas line.
Correct, correct,
But yeah, but it's in there. There are layers that are open only to management review.
gotcha.
And
Right.
Keith, don't we already have, or don't you already have a database of all those locations where we had damage to streetlights? That's,
We have a list, but
Yeah, but
it never means.
so that's not sufficient for them to start anything, or
We don't,
it'd be
we
kind
don't
of
have,
start.
we don't have the coordinates per se of those streetlights that were damaged.
Right.
Which is what you would essentially need to provide them as
Mhm.
coordinates for each.
Do
for
you
each
think
infrastructure.
Florida Power and Light would have it for their streetlights
I
And-
don't,
that they could provide to us?
that's a good question. if you would.
Well, at the present time, this proposal is not lighting related, it is strictly signage. But it could be expanded. We gotta start somewhere. But at this point, it's signs, so it's the traffic control signs, it's the stop, it's the yield, it's the
Actually,
warning.
it's anything that you want.
Right, but this proposal is, that's what's been defined geographically, approximate amount of data. So when if we start to add in more data, like Florida Power and lighting, like West Coast lighting, like, other infrastructure. My thinking is that the $15,000 number is going to grow.
Oh, I think it's gonna be more than enough to do anything you guys can think of.
You think so?
This is not expensive.
Yeah.
And really, it's the global picture. I know we had lighting on here, but it's so much more than lighting. It's just giving you a kind of a blanket sheet to say what you want on.
And
Well,
It's
then,
not
if we're-
expensive to do.
if
you're
we're gonna
working with them-
oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna go out and we are gonna canvass the areas, I'd rather just do as much as we can. Right up front, because otherwise you just have to go back when you start to add things. Why not do it initially?
But I
That's
do-
my input. Mhm.
Now, there's a separate thing, and I don't want to muddy the waters, but there's a whole separate thing being considered by the district relative to streetlights. Where you may need to help me here, but I think at the current time, we have two different conditions. If the streetlight is owned by that pole fixture all of it, if it's owned by Gateway, we pay a certain price. FPNL is giving us a proposal. Everything that has to happen. So we'll be paying a fixed rate. And I think that that's gonna pass from Gateway, and it would apply to us also, the Pelican. We wanna make sure we're in it. That will help to simplify the costs. There'll be a lot more predictable. So if a pole breaks, we won't be charged for it. FPNL do whatever they have to do for it. If the light's burned out, they do it. Where at the present time, depending on the pole, we pay for the new ball, the new fixture, the new whatever. So, yeah, I don't want to muddy the waters because they're two separate things, but just be aware that this is occurring. We may turn over all of our lights to FPNL very shortly. I don't know. We're considering. So, but that is, separate from this discussion, that at least shows us where they are.
So maybe, a conservative approach would be just to do signage to
Well,
start.
I think the 15,000, I wouldn't limit myself. You just authorize not to exceed 15 for the year, that's the budget. And then if you push against that with different things, signs, lights, whatever, they'll tell you, the GIS will tell you, okay, we've reached the end of the budget. So you need to supplement. But if you limited yourself to just one pass, and you're tying your hands when you don't need
Yeah,
to. That
and I
15
think
will apply
overall
all
it's
for
gonna
us,
be
so.
more work.
You could ask them too, how much can we get for 15, how many data points can?
Yeah, that's the other approach.
Yeah.
What is $15,000?
So, you're right, so let's say 500 data
Yeah.
points, so you guys know, wow, I got 500 data points I can go out and collect. That'd be signs, lights. I wouldn't do FPL lights though, I wouldn't suggest that because like Dean said, or Bob said, there's a good chance they will be replaced at some point.
Well, but we still want to know what the sign or the lights are. That's-
Yeah.
See, now the work is done. The footprint's out there. All somebody's gonna do is go out and plug in
Right,
10 lights on the street. How difficult could that be?
it's not, it's data entry.
Updating is very inexpensive.
Yeah.
So the group in favor of
Mhm.
recommending?
Yeah.
Good idea.
Does this include town center or not?
No,
The map includes town center, but we don't.
Different money.
that's private. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't include any signage over by, any information over by the golf course either.
Correct.
Mhm.
So all in favor of making a recommendation to
Absolutely.
PPAC? Okay. Good, thank you. Quickly, that's next. The sidewalk condition
Survey.
survey. Keith, this is you. You put this on the agenda a month or two ago, and we never got to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right.
But I printed out about 100 pages of it. Because I said print.
Well, to be honest with you, I was, one of our consultants did the survey for me. As part of his, evaluation on the entire community, for maintenance. And I was told to put it on the agenda and I don't really know why, so I wasn't figuring you guys had a reason.
Okay.
Okay. Dean, if I could throw in a nickel again, I like the not going.
Yeah, this is the last time you're invited, you know?
Historically, Castle would survey whatever or check all our sidewalks. And we pay them to do that. If the differentiation of one sidewalk pad to another was greater than the thickness of a pencil, action would be taken. We pour the concrete, somebody out there to grind.
Hmm.
Moving forward, this seems like an idea or a task that maybe this committee can undertake. If you had another volunteer group, if you will, of people that would be interested in checking this quarterly, they'd have a zone to check, maybe they're just their street, and they'd say, okay, all our sidewalks are okay, we don't do it. But if problems occur, then you can take action.
And then there's funding in
The funding exists.
there's funding in some line item
Yeah.
for,
The
for
funding
maintenance,
currently
repairs.
exists in the O and M, and again, that's all part of the transition as we go forward.
Yeah.
So basically it says, is this something that might appeal to this group? That from a safety point of view, trip hazards, would you try to set up some kind of a system, whatever system you like, that would do that? So we're not paying an outside consultant like Castle $47,000 to walk around and do it.
Why don't we use a buy-in of the HOAs individually, the presidents in each HOA? That's not gonna cover the public streets, obviously, but the HOAs could,
Find
say, oh, we got a
volunteers.
problem. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Find
And they
volunteers.
could report to this committee and say,
And
we
that's
have-
probably what happens today, Bob, but they all reported to Santos and every day.
okay.
They reported here, the same thing.
Yeah, the only thing we'd have to be concerned about are the ones like on Pelican Reserve Boulevard and Cypress Grove where they wouldn't be involved.
No, and that brings up another point that I've noticed. There are certain areas on sidewalks that have perpetual puddles every time there's a landscaping. And and I nearly fell on some mud that was really slippery.
It's the
Puddle was gone.
Absolutely right.
So, up north, at a time or two, I've used mud jacking. And I assume that they use the same kind of technology here in some case to level up some of those areas.
I think we generally just pay somebody to clean it, pressure wash it.
Well,
Again,
yeah, but every time,
Follow you guys.
but you get along, you got several sections, 3 or 4 sections that are a long puddle every time the landscaping is
Maybe you
gone.
want to put a drain in or jack them up like you said.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Sidewalks.
I get it with the grinding, that can help to a certain degree,
Yeah.
but it,
Short term.
I believe every HOA has a pressure washing budget, correct?
yeah.
Well, ours does, yeah.
Yeah, we have a budget.
But I was wondering why we never use that kind of technology if we've got something that's persistent. It seemed like that, unless it's cost.
Well, the concept is if the group thinks that sidewalk safety should fall in your world, figure out how to.
Then we can run with it. That's,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I know that we have a tendency to focus on the roads, but, and less focus on sidewalks, but they're a consideration. There's a lot of trip and fall hazards out there, I think, that need to be addressed. And, somebody like yourself that's running out there, you probably.
I was
run
gonna
it-
say, you can just attach a camera to me.
Yeah,
You get the whole neighborhood after a week.
And the oak trees block the ability of the sun to drive.
yeah.
Mhm.
So,
They create problems.
so this is something that we, as a committee, think, we should take on, and that's another.
I think what Bob's suggesting makes a lot of sense is if you identify a problem or something that could potentially be a safety issue, and you say, we can do something about that, then bring it up for discussion and see if there's enough interest or, we decide it's worth, spending some money on.
And Don, your suggestion of the HOAs, input from the HOAs, I think is a great one.
That takes a monkey off of our back as far as going around each neighborhood, and you do that to President's Association, and force them to do their work, and we can handle the work that they can't do.
Yes, but this is a good start, what your consultant did. I mean, they've gone through the whole community, right?
Yes.
Right, and identified a lot of places that need to be addressed.
So and every month, there's an opportunity for safety and security to talk to the
To the
To the-
President's Council.
President's Council. Now, most of the time, you try to limit it to just a few minutes, so it's kind of highlights. But there is that opportunity. And get some feedback and or ask for some help.
So that's something we could bring up, I can attend the next one.
Yeah, and the key fact, President Phil Macy has been, he's on the agenda automatically to give updates.
Yeah.
So if you guys just work
That's right,
through
we do.
that,
Right.
through,
Okay,
Peggy and all.
So do you want to make a motion to add this to your group's responsibilities?
yeah,
I think
I
that
think
would be
that
the next step, right?
it seems very logical for us to be involved in this, so if everyone is in favor of doing that, say aye. And we will do
Aye.
it. Okay, thank you. This last one is security operations review for the Wiser services. The post orders were attached. Some of us had involvement with the post orders that were developed over a year ago when things changed from Securitas to Wiser. My suspicions are that there's some work yet to be done. Maybe an annual review is in order anyway. Things change, but Randy, you had some involvement in.
Yes, I spoke with Jennifer, at KW and, found out who could post these on our website, our newly created and updated website. So we have that information and I'm not sure, is Laura still, is she still on?
She signed off, I think.
She signed on?
Yeah, she had a meeting at 11.
Because one thing came up that,
Yeah, she's not here.
she's on. One thing that came up was that it was still under consideration for legal with Gateway's attorney. Laura wasn't sure about that. She was going to find that information out. So we need to learn of that. Because I think what we had was approved, but it had a couple of emergency numbers that were to Castle Group employees. So I think that's the only part of it that
spelled
needs.
out Castle. I said their name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only thing that would need to be modified. But, you know, I mentioned to the President's Council that we would try to get this on our website. Keep asking, what are the responsibilities? Somebody wants to look at it, it's 40 pages long, so it's no small task to go through and find the information, but it would be available. And I think it's something that we can certainly do.
Last year, Jennifer and myself met with Chris on these post orders. We were supposed to do a final follow-up on it, which we never got invited back on. There's about 3 or 4 things that I found in the post orders that really are not addressed or addressed in my opinion as a safety security part. And one of those is garage doors. The real simple one. Security guys are supposed to drive around, and if a garage door is left up open during the daytime hours, then they can contact the resident. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Unless it's left open all the day long, because people, a lot of times, leave their garage doors open during the daytime. I'm out there in my garage all the time. But it specifically says after 10 p.m. till the next morning, that security does not contact the resident and tell them that their garage door. That to me is the time when they should be contacting the person. Because if you're gonna have a break-in or if there's a problem, that is the time. And maybe somebody doesn't like a phone call and say your garage door is open. Okay, well, then just disregard the phone call. But you know.
Or start closing.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the horse in the cart backwards on this thing. And there's several other areas in there too that's the same way. And I think they need to be reviewed. And I'm gonna have something I'm gonna bring up when we get to the member items, and it's gonna tie right into the security company. I think we need to really look.
Almost there. So I think you're right, though, Don. We do need to have a review that's probably more than just updating some phone numbers, like you said.
Right.
And anybody here, John, you've done it before. You willing to do it again? Take
Sure.
another look at it, Jennifer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to have 2 or 3 people look at it, because
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
do
miss
too.
something, Jennifer's gonna miss something, or whoever else is on the, is gonna miss something, but at least we can go through it.
Yeah, and
I
so
went through-
hopefully
I
we
went through
can,
it Also.
so Randy, hopefully we can get the current version, which is what we have.
I have that and Jennifer
Get
has
that
that.
posted, and it's subject to change. We'll review and update. We'll have to go through a process, obviously.
So I have a copy of it. Jennifer at KW has a copy
Right.
of it. I think I also got it sent to Laura.
Yeah.
Because
Is
she
that
was
the-
going
this
to,
version?
look at it as well, and she was gonna find out from our attorney, so. Keith, I
I
don't know,
haven't heard anything on regards to that. What was
is that
what was- what was
Tony
attached
supposed to go through that?
To look at the whole post order?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not sure. That came, there was something that came back from Scott Charnock that thought it was under legal review.
Tony approved, Tony approved the contract. With
Right.
Wise.
Right.
That came through the district.
Okay.
This
Recently,
is just
recently?
within the last year.
Well,
The district took this over from entirely.
because the existing
PPCA.
the contract with Weiser was for 1 year.
From, yes, with the district.
And it expired something like October 1st or October 30th.
We'll roll it for probably 3 years unless this group says that you want to check
Okay.
and look for somebody else.
The contract's been renewed already.
It has,
Yes.
good, okay.
Yes. But, one of the problems we had before, Bob, is that nobody had post orders but Castle. So now this group has the post order. It is within your province.
Yeah, okay.
If you decide that you want to make recommendations or changes, bring that forward to PPAC to approve, and then it goes to the district,
Okay.
working with Keith, of course. But it's your document now, so you make whatever changes you want to make.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Is
mind
this-
seeing, Wiser have their supervisor present when we go through the post orders, because it'd be nice
Absolutely.
to know what they can and physically
And
cannot.
KW and probably PPCA rep if they so choose.
That would be great.
Again, collaboration, let's get everybody.
Exactly.
I think the way it was handled last time was that primarily KW had a chance to look at what you all had offered as updates to it and whether they could approve it or not. I believe, I think that was,
Okay.
Okay.
So is,
and or maybe there was some input. I don't know for sure.
was the attachment the most recent one, the one that was attached to the agenda package?
I'm sorry, say again.
The version, this version 4 that was attached to the agenda package, is that the most recent one that we should be using?
Can you open that?
Should be on.
I believe
I
so.
think I've got a copy of it.
Mine had,
Be on our website.
and if you go forward a little bit, mine had some yellow on it as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, 1 second.
This would be it here.
Yeah, I didn't print all mine out.
Yeah, I
I
didn't print it either
accidentally-
because.
Oh. Okay, so yes, this is the copy that I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so we have.
And the reason I know is that these kind of stopped out to me. I
Yeah.
thought that might be the only part that needed to be changed
Okay,
as far as the,
all right. Well, then that's helpful to know when we start reviewing it, that we've got the right.
Yeah.
Right version. Okay,
but is it something that would need to be redone before we put it on a website?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, it can go out as it is, Randy, no, it's constantly getting updated.
right,
Just so the website has the most recent update, that's,
right.
that we could ask for.
so I would recommend that you guys start your review
Okay.
and then you send that to KW for their input.
Mhm.
And then at that point, that would be the time that you would take it to PPAC.
So what
I'd like to
we
see,
can
I'd
do,
like to see the security company
Right,
with us.
Yeah.
When we do the review, so we're
Right.
sitting at a table physically.
Well, I would think that might be difficult because you guys are gonna be doing independent reviews, but when it gets to the point where it gets on the agenda to make a recommendation to PPAC, maybe go through the edits with them at that point, invite them to that meeting and discuss.
so we
the
would
edits.
have to go through all of our edits at one of our meetings, because the last time we did it, it took what, a couple hours?
Yeah. We sat there.
because
at least
everything
2
that was
hours.
redlined by you all was, and Christopher Santos, was included in this version, my understanding.
Right, but what I'm saying is if we're gonna do another review, and we have to wait and go through our individual edits as a team, this whole team has to do it together. It took a couple of hours to do it just when Chris, Don and I sat down. So I was kind of
Well,
hoping that before we took it to the
Yeah,
larger group,
no,
we could have a
sunshine.
chance to
Yeah, I
chit
think we
chat.
ought to do that.
With Sunshine, though, you guys can't communicate outside of here independently, unfortunately. So you'll have to do independent reviews and then
Okay,
come.
we might
back
want to
together.
have a separate meeting for that versus putting
Yeah.
it in one of these meetings,
gonna
because
take some
it'll
time.
just, Yeah, okay.
But
All right.
And then,
as,
and then at what point could we pull in Jennifer and, I forget the lady's name who would input it on their communication director would put it on the website, but at what point can they
Oh,
get
Angel Lee.
put in so that it could be modified or changed?
We would have to do an amendment to their contract to do this, and nothing should get posted officially until that point.
To
an
to
amendment
not
to
have a
whose part?
sunshine problem. If Bob was the point person
Mhm,
and he had KW with him,
mhm.
and Randy could participate because he's not a member of this committee.
Mhm.
So there's no sunshine violation with those three, and then yourself representing the district, and then somebody from PPCA. That five could move without any problem with sunshine.
Okay, so I could
And then
submit,
they make the rec, and you could do it independently.
Mhm.
I'll send it to
Yeah.
Don and then. okay.
No, you have to send it to,
Oh, I'm sorry, send it to George.
Actually, to Dean.
Keith or George.
I can't send it to Dean, can I?
No. it's gotta
I
go
have to
down.
send it to Georgia.
Gotta go
All
to
right.
George or Keith.
Yeah,
That
Georgia.
way we stay.
Gotcha, okay, I'll
So-
send it to Georgia, she can send it out
Would it
appropriately.
be simpler
Then you
just
have
to
it.
call another meeting and have the principal sit on a table? and
It ain't stuff with sunshine.
That was what I was saying earlier.
Forget logic, it's sunshine, it's the law.
Yeah, but that would be falling under if we had an official meeting
Yeah.
and went over it.
Yeah.
Then it would meet the sunshine requirements. And we could just work around and get the thing solved a lot quicker than sending this to there and there to.
Yeah, because as I recall, we had a lot of discussion. What
Yeah.
did you mean by this? What,
Yeah,
you
that way you
know,
could all sit down with your markups and discuss.
Yeah.
First it goes through their edits.
Okay.
You
let's
could
do
do it that
that.
way too, and then invite KW,
Have a special meeting.
Yeah.
have KW at that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that much better.
But so is it your belief that Wiser is the holder of the original document that we've got copy of up here now? For us to edit this? Is
The
it,
district should be.
We have the original.
you have the original?
This is what I got to Laura,
This is,
So
we have it.
the
yeah.
district has.
So
This
you
is the one. This is it.
Okay, then we.
As a
have it.
PDF or a Word document as well?
Oh, the Word document.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because there's another document, there's more than one document on this. There's the whole packet, and then there's a short version. And then they
Right,
have the other thing where the security guard's gotta wear this uniform and this color and have this
Right.
pin here and
One
that.
is the contract and one is supposed to.
this,
Right.
right,
So there's,
But it all comes out of that
It
basic.
comes out of the
format.
contract.
Yes,
It's all referenced in the contract.
Yes.
Yes.
this is the kind of stuff that,
Yeah.
Wiser had to approve, that they could or they did. You know,
Right.
that was their input. This is our uniform. This is what we expect. from
yeah,
our-
and it was there
correct.
before.
and we just need to make sure that the original document, the master document is also represented correctly on the post or abbreviation and all that, so they all three are consistent.
Mhm.
All three documents are consistent.
Okay, I have one question regarding, still on the same Wiser item, and then we'll go into other comments that you're going to add, Don, okay? So the storage lot that is accessed off of Tree Line,
Mhm.
One golf course.
The golf course,
who owns that?
the golf course.
The golf course owns that. And Gateway has nothing to do with it? Wiser has nothing to do with it? Wiser doesn't monitor anything,
Unless they
cameras?
have an agreement with the golf course, I don't believe so.
I know that they have cameras there. I don't know who paid for it, but there are cameras on the RV storage lot
Mhm.
that are reviewed in the security lot,
In
in our gatehouse.
our gatehouse.
But I don't know how that evolved, and I don't know who's responsible. It's a great question.
Terry Lolito used to, be the person that people went to
Yeah,
to get an RV and or get on a waiting list.
so that is a PPCA function, so they need to be a part of this too. And if this group decides that the security personnel will continue monitoring the cameras and report on it, we gotta figure out a pro forma of how that's gonna be done. Because it's certainly not a district function, but it is a community function.
But once again, it's paying for.
Yeah, who pays for the equipment and
Yeah,
the
because
time?
it's not gateway property.
Who's collecting the money for the rental space?
the town center,
The town center?
community association. So that is something
That's
that,
weird.
that's one of the rocks
Yeah.
that needs to be
Talking
turned.
about the
It
golf
should-
course?
Honestly, I think it should not be part of our.
No, it should not be part of us.
Because it's an ownership.
And because it is PPCA, but they need to be involved and we need to come to an agreement of how that
Yeah,
should function going forward.
Okay.
But you're
Um,
right, it's separate from this,
Yeah.
but yet it might be a wiser function.
I had another question that's kind of related to this. As you drive down the tree line south, there are still a lot of panels that are missing or broken or something that could easily get through. And some of them, of course, are right, some of them used to be right behind the tennis courts and otherwise down along that,
Supply.
particularly up to that golf course area, which
security?
anybody can walk through and then start walking through different neighborhoods and things like that. Do we have any kind of an idea when any of that could be repaired or?
My
'Cause
my
we certainly
understanding is
don't-
part of the community association,
Yeah.
that's an insurance claim.
Yeah,
But I would imagine that we are all exposed because of that situation, and there could be, should be, chain link fence or something put up to make it more secure while they're waiting to replace the panels, but.
That's one of those items that may have fallen through the cracks in the transition, so I would suggest somebody follow up with KW, even if they know about it.
Yeah,
You know, we talked numerous times. In fact, I went out there to look at the fencing in the back. It's all down and we have people coming into this community from other areas.
by the back.
I'm talking by the Palazzo.
Yeah, the south property line.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. The fences are down there. You can see tracks going from the
oh gee,
other side of our community over the fence and ours. And that's another thing I'm gonna talk about, security.
Well,
When,
why don't we get onto that now?
Yeah, I
What's
think
the-
we-
What's the person's name that you spoke to, the
Adam Radley?
Adam? Yeah, I'll speak to Adam.
Okay,
Thank you.
Well, one of the things you give the GIS map is who owns everything. It'll all be
Right.
identified.
I guess where I'm coming from on this, I think Pelican could be a very soft target for criminals. And, I'll kind of go over some things recently, and I think we all know a lot of the things, the theft in town center, the coffee, the toilet paper, the theft out of destinations, the ice cream cart being taking all the ice cream out of over at Flip Flops in the past. I mean, there are a ton of things. Those are some more recent things that I've heard about. People have come to me and told me. There was a man arrested in town center. Are we familiar with that? Was living in town center in the gym? Does, okay. Apparently there was an individual that was, living in town center in the gym. He would go over to destinations and get food. He used some of the food, the donation food that was in between the gym and the swimming pool. They have the food right there. He was using some of that. Apparently he had a locker that he was using in the gym and had a hatchet in it. The police came, he was called, and he was arrested on several warrants, felony warrants. That's what I've heard.
I take it he's not a resident.
Arrested.
Maybe he is now for squatting laws, but.
Another situation we had just the last, and then this was fairly recent. I'm thinking sometime in December. I don't have an exact date because I'm hearing it from a lot of sources, but no one's confirming anything. That's a problem around here. We're
I
hiding
think
stuff.
it's, I don't know.
The other thing is we had, back in Casella, the condos back there, we had, a resident that had a lady come up to the door at night, making all kind of noise at the front door. And, the owner of the condo came to the door and she fortunately did not open the door, but she had a security camera out there, probably a Ring doorbell or something. And the lady was putting up hands and screaming and stuff like that. And then she put a hoodie up over top of her head. And there were two male subjects that were out by a car, right parked there where she was at. And then she all of a sudden took off when she saw the camera there apparently. The police were called and they made a police report on it, and, police obviously told them that, this is could be a very serious problem. Because it sounded like they were trying to get her to open up the door and then maybe make a residential entry on it. So, those are two criminal incidents that just happened within the last month, something like that.
I copied that now.
You did you get something on that?
I did.
Okay, now I hope I'm telling the story right, because I'm getting a second hand.
So why is your major report, Randy?
Yeah, it got,
Okay.
it got escalated to Fort Myers Police and I don't know anything.
Well, as long as they made a report and you guys are aware.
They're not aware of it because the report didn't come to us.
Well, it should have come to safety and security.
It has never,
It used to, but
Haven't
we
seen
haven't seen
any
them.
reports from Wiser in at least
3 months?
3 months.
yeah,
So that's one of the things for the wiser discussion.
exactly.
You need, Dean, as chairman, you need to get all this, and so does Ray.
Any incidents reports. Yesterday afternoon, we done with.
Go ahead. I got a couple other things.
It just prompted another one. Yesterday afternoon, my wife and I were coming back from out of town. Came in at like 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon, don't remember exactly when. There were 2 police cars on Pelican Preserve on the right-hand side as you're coming in. One was almost on the sidewalk. The next one was parked like right next to it. And I saw a black male sitting on the grass, by the sidewalk. I have not heard anything. I haven't checked with security. Anybody hear about that or have any idea what was going on?
I
The reason it was a surprise to me to see police cars in the property.
I heard from John, just the fellow that I spoke with about maintenance, that he had been called to escort a former employee off property yesterday afternoon. Police were called. I don't know if it's the same incident or it's related, but there's some issues going on.
And I think we're gonna tie all this stuff together. Number one, we're not getting anything from the security company. We need to let the residents know to call Fort Myers PD, then the security company. I think what's happening, a lot of them are calling the security company. They can't do anything. They won't do anything. They have no legal authority to do anything. So anything where they feel is a crime, it needs to be reported immediately to Fort Myers. Second phone call to our security office. Things such as destinations. Now we're going into town center issues here, which kind of is.
Not out.
It's not ours, but it ties right into everything we're doing.
You're right.
And this is, I think, where we need to get town center management involved into this. Destinations back doors left open a lot of times, unlocked at night. And I guess this goes back to the guy in there that was living in the gym. We need to have security be more proactive and be involved with town center. And the aspects I'm looking at is, I think we ought to have the security company, and the town center pays part of this because there's money involved and time involved. Have a security guard in uniform walk through town center in 11 o'clock in the morning. Just be present, walk through the pool area, go into buildings, talk to the people that the management in the area. If anything comes up, they can give them direction and they can take from there, because I don't think a lot of the people that work in town center know what to do or, don't want to get involved. Maybe make the second pass late afternoon, because we're having a lot of people coming in using the pool and stuff from outside this area. We're not a security community. They're parking in the parking lot out there. Another thing is then at night, when town center closes, the security goes through town center, make sure, walks to the buildings, make sure all the doors are locked, nobody's in the pool, and then they would just automatically take over. Now, the guy that would do the last check, I think ought to be a higher level of security. Security companies have basically a gate watcher, somebody that drives around the community, and then an armed security guard. And maybe an armed security guard at late night would be the thing to have.
I thought all of our guards were unarmed.
They are all unarmed. I'm saying they can hide, they have armed security guards through these security
Oh,
companies.
I see.
They pay them a little
Okay.
bit more.
Okay.
And that might be something to have on at nighttime, to drive through the area. Particularly walking through town center for safety.
I have seen Mark up at the town center. Prior to Rocky Center opening, going through Pelican Lounge and being around and visible. And that was, I think, while he was also in the community patrol car. So we should check, there may be some community patrol guy that is doing some of what you're talking about. Now, I'm not certain about that.
I had a situation where I called, it was on a weekend. And I was in the gym working out and there was a problem out in the parking lot with a car parked driving back around in the paved areas and parking there. And I said, we probably need to get them removed. Well, security couldn't come for that because it was in town center. They could not handle that situation because it was town center. And the guy in the gym, I don't know what to do. There was no management. I don't know if there is management now in town center on weekends or not, but in the past, there wasn't any. No one could make a decision. I think theft, we got stuff taken out of destinations. We got one employee, I had stole a bunch of liquor out of there. There's a lot of things going on that we are not really aware of. And I think we need to nip this in the bud. We have a new management company, get them involved in this.
Well, we certainly need to define our expectations of Weiser.
Correct.
And to the extent that Weiser's at Benito Road they shouldn't be doing anything at the town center, the tennis courts or all that. That if it is decided that that needs to be done, then that'll be a separate agreement between
PPC.
Yeah,
us and Weiser.
Or you can also hire a different security.
Or they can buy it. They can.
Yeah, right.
Your province doesn't include, I understand what you're saying, Don, and I agree. But we don't include the RV storage and we don't include town centers and pools. Clearly, something needs to be allocated for that,
And this should be purview of the
That should
community
be a
association.
association. And if we're currently doing it, then we need to figure out what that value is and transfer that cost value to the
Yeah.
PPCA.
And that's why I think if we had town center management with us at our meetings,
Well,
we
yeah,
would discuss
You're
that.
bringing up great points and they all need to be addressed and it's all part of the whole transition.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
something that you want to think about.
okay. Anything else? We've gone well beyond our time. We have a, next item is meeting agenda, or at least set the next meeting.
Yeah.
Let's set the next meeting date. And,
Yes, I just said one last thing. I brought this up. I just wanted to show it as informational for the people. Because it has to do somewhat with safety. This is a map. It's GIS incidentally. And we're looking at the conservation area. I'm sorry, Carl, I'll show you. This is the conservation area behind the town center. This is the current boardwalk. As you know, right now, it's pedestrian only at this moment. That is still being negotiated, looked at and all. So there has been a proposal that's going to go to PPAC this Thursday. That will say, we may choose as a community to say golf carts can come from the Sienna side into this gathering area. And then the people can be escorted any place else they want on the boardwalk. But this way, people with sight and or mobility issues at least have access with their golf cart to come into the preserve. So that is a proposal that is going to be made to PPAC. Easier said than done. This is another can of worms. But anyway, at least something is going to be moving forward. Some kind of resolution where people can view the boardwalk.
Nice.
I know
Just be aware.
Chelsea's involved with that,
Yep.
trying to check the.
We got to get South Florida. We got to, it's just an awful lot that's got to be done.
Yeah.
But just be aware that something is happening.
so Golf carts are not allowed on that path. at
The
this
only
time?
thing that's allowed right now is pedestrian traffic.
No
Yeah.
signage to that effect, all right?
Well, there's
Ballards do it.
Can't get.
Oh, that's,
And there's been discussion with South Florida Water Management that that's kind of illegal to do this because ADA says you gotta offer.
It is still ADA accessible.
Yeah, the
I mean,
ADA, American
Yeah, but
Disabilities Act,
ADA
With
says
wheelchairs.
says you have to
specifically
have access.
that you can take an electric cart.
Yeah.
In there. South Florida says absolutely not. So we have to, that's one of the things that's with Tony,
Clarifying, yeah.
you know, a lot more questions than answers like everything else. But something is working in that direction. Because there's a lot of people that are very upset that they can no longer visit that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right,
so, can we schedule,
Sure.
another meeting and perhaps we focus strictly on the post orders?
sure.
I didn't bring my phone, okay.
You want to do a separate meeting, schedule a separate meeting for the post orders?
Yeah.
That's what you're working on now?
Yeah. Does a,
I think they call that a workshop.
Mhm.
does a Tuesday or a Thursday work for anybody?
Thursday mornings does not work for me. In the afternoon it would. I've got, I monitor the wood shop.
Okay.
Thursday
Right.
morning.
Tuesdays are
Tuesdays.
generally good for me.
Yeah, Tuesdays aren't good for me, but the Thursday afternoons are okay.
All right, Ted, can
Thursday
you
afternoon's
do,
fine with me.
can you do afternoon on Thursday?
Yeah, I could make it happen if I had to.
Okay.
Generally I have tennis, but
Um,
get out of that.
so, Keith, what about you? Is a Thursday afternoon doable for you?
Which Thursday, because we have board meetings every other,
Every other, so.
which Thursday are you looking at? I'm sorry.
One of them that doesn't have a board
Oh.
meeting.
What about another day?
Well, we're holding here, right?
Two-
We're gonna be here.
Mm-hmm.
So the 9th
Of February?
or the 23rd. Yeah, you guys are trying to meet in February or you want to do sooner?
I was honestly thinking
about,
if we
like, the
could get something in
26th?
the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I said Tuesday or Thursday, afternoons, later afternoons, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are okay. For me as well, but,
Why don't you guys agree on the date and then I'll see if it works for me because you have your majority here, so.
What about the 26th in the afternoon? Thursday,
Twenty-fifth,
6?
26th,
26,
26 is open for me.
Open for me.
good.
I think it is, but I don't know. I didn't bring my.
Okay, I
phone,
didn't look at my
unfortunately.
calendar. That's actually not a good day. It's usually Thursday afternoons are good, but that one's not. Sorry. My mistake.
does 19 work?
19, let's see.
And I'll be out of town.
Board meeting.
Okay.
What about, like the 27th? Let's see, the 27th.
Friday,
No meetings on Fridays allowed.
No meetings on Fridays allowed. Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about
within the
Friday?
contract,
What about Friday mornings?
Friday the 27th?
Earlier is better for me on that day.
Friday mornings are good for me.
yeah, that's fine with
What
me.
day?
Friday, the 27th?
27th
I
of
gotta get
January.
to Lee County Sheriff's Range that day.
Oh, okay.
What time till?
I'm supposed to be out there qualifying at 11, so it'll be probably 12:30-ish, 1 o'clock before I get out of there.
What about Monday, the 23rd?
If it's morning, it's okay.
Monday, the 23rd?
Yeah.
Andy?
I have a dentist appointment at 1.
We'll
Well,
be
we're gonna
done
do it in
in
the
the
morning.
morning.
Yeah, I'd have to do morning.
Yeah, in the morning, I can make it.
Okay. So let's say, 9:30, allow a couple of hours. You still have enough time to get to the dentist then, Randy?
23rd,
23rd?
Monday, the
What time
January
What
23rd.
time would be good for you after the dentist? Or before the dentist, I mean.
We make it before 9:30. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
can make it.
but
nine.
the issue would
I
just
don't
be
care.
finding some space. That could even be Brocky Center, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't need all the Or do we need all, I suppose we do.
I have a question for Laura for that, if we have to do this in
Oh,
the sunshine.
oh,
It must be Bob's.
is that Bob's?
Might come back.
So we
Okay.
probably have to make it accessible.
Yeah, and so once again,
Well, I'll
why
check,
don't we come up with that, decide on that, and then.
then I'll check, yeah.
And then check, see, where can you set it up for?
Can ask Laura. if
They have
it has to
enough
be a
notice.
sunshine meeting. And then,
Okay, so we're proposing the 23rd at 9:30 for 2 hours?
Yeah, or 23rd at 9:30 or 9 o'clock. If 9 o'clock works for people.
9 o'clock's fine with
9
me.
a.m.
That's okay.
and do you want KW with that one?
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
Manager.
Yeah.
Not just an employee, one of the managers.
So it'd be Jennifer, she's pretty
Oh,
much
okay.
everybody, she's doing.
Have we said 9:30?
9 o'clock,
9
I think
o'clock.
we changed it.
You're gonna send an invite once you get a confirmed space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I suppose that it might be depending on when they can find a spot, place for us to meet.
Yeah.
But we're
This
gonna
is just
put
a
9:30
proposal.
as a
It's-
target.
As a placeholder, okay?
Okay.
And I'll speak with Janine at KW. Okay,
Where do I get a hold of this document reviewed before the
It
meeting?
was on it's in the package.
That Georgia sent out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called the agenda package or something. It's an
Yeah.
attachment.
What is that?
Bob left his cell phone here.
Well, I'll take it to him. I live right across the street from him.
Can you? Thank you.
You probably
Okay.
won't get far.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll figure out at some point, but then,
Alrighty.
who knows if the room will be open.
Ed, we're about to adjourn. Did you have any questions for us?
Me?
No. Thank you.
Ed,
Hello, Ed.
is Ed still there? Oh, yeah, he
He's
is.
there. He may have stepped away.
Georgia Blesser is still there.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, we're going to adjourn. It's now 12:04
Is there a
and
regular meeting too?
want to set up it's
Might as well.
might as well.
Okay.
Calendar, I think.
All right. Can we go out a couple more weeks from there?
Sure. We're out.
Tuesday or Thursday offer again?
Tuesdays usually are not good for me. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Thursday? The second,
Tuesdays are not good.
Afternoon's okay.
9th?
Thursday the 9th works for me. Afternoon.
Yep, sure.
And then 2, 9, 23, say,
Thursday, are you talking the 9th of February? What time are you talking? It's likely a P-PAC,
It is
Second
PPAC,
Thursday.
2:00 PPAC meeting.
P-PAC.
So-
I haven't got that on my schedule yet.
so it would have to be before then, right? Randy?
Yeah.
Or there's a conflict. If it's gonna be afternoon on a Thursday,
It's a
we're gonna have to
conflict
go on a
for me,
different day.
Sure.
About Wednesday.
Wednesday, February 1st? I'm sorry, it's
Eighth.
February 8th?
That works for me.
I can't do afternoon. Can you do morning?
I can do morning.
Morning? Say 9 o'clock
Sure.
What
On-
date
on
is that
Wednesday?
again?
on Wednesday, the 8th,
Wednesday, the 8th at 9 o'clock.
and again, put it as a placeholder, and I'll locate a place to meet.
Okay.
That work okay, Randy?
Yeah, I can make it work, except I'm in a golf league. I got Wednesday or Saturday. You guys keep coming to meet on Wednesdays,
So let,
How about Monday?
but I can do that.
We lead such
Monday the
busy
6th.
lives.
Monday the 6th?
Monday the 6th, I'm wide open right now.
Afternoons.
No, I'd have to do morning. Sorry, I got.
Morning's fine with me.
Right. Yeah, Monday mornings are a bear for me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Make it work.
I remember that.
So would 10 o'clock be better
That's
than 9
better.
o'clock?
10's better for sure, yeah, thanks.
Okay,
So where are we now?
Mhm.
February 6th.
February 6th, 10 a.m.
10
Okay.
a.m. Monday. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
It's adjourned 12:07.
good meeting.
Covered a lot of ground. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I wonder, do we have new members on the?
So then there'll be probably some fresh things. to bring up
Theoretically, we
to
have